I have decided that my most important mission in this life is to give people hope, because without hope we do nothing, and particularly if our children do nothing, then we may as well give up. I think about the future. I talk to young people. They tell me, we don't really care anymore because you've harmed our future and there's nothing we can do about it. And it makes me feel angry or desperate, really, because we have harmed the future for all the children. But is it too late? And I believe we have a window of time, and if we want to climb out of the pit that we've dug, we all have to get together and try and find the right way ahead. And we've got to do it now. And so for me, I get a great sense of urgency, which is why I'm traveling like this, even though I'm 80 years old. It's very important for me because of the future. First of all, I lived in the forest and learned about the chimpanzees, and that was my dream come true. And then when I realized that chimpanzees were declining in numbers and forests were being destroyed, I knew I had to leave the forest in order to try and save the forest and save the chimpanzees. I had the opportunity to fly over Gombe National Park, which is very small, and I saw outside the park where there had been forest, it had gone, and there were bare hills. And the people were more than the land could support, and the land had lost its fertility. And that's when I realized if we don't improve the lives of the people, there's no way we can even try to save the chimpanzees. So we began a program to help the people, first of all in the villages around Gombe, to improve their lives in ways that they suggested. We didn't go and tell them. We listened, and we had a team of Tanzanians. And this program worked so well that the original 12 villages, we now work in 52, and the people have come to trust us to realize that saving the environment for the chimpanzees is saving it for their own children and their own future. And so they have set aside land for forest reserve around the national park so that within 10 years, the trees were back, and some of them were over 20 foot high. And we've replicated that program in 5 other African countries. So many, many, many trees are coming back. Many villages have better lives than they had before. And our Roots and Shoots program for young people is in all those villages. And because of that, because those young people are linked up with youth in the developed world, there's an exchange of information, and so we're growing citizens of the future who understand the problems, both of poverty and overconsumption. That's led to my traveling around the world 300 days a year to try and wake people up as to what we're doing to the planet. We're destroying the planet. I think most people look at all the problems and they just feel helpless. They don't know what to do. They care, but because they don't know what to do, they do nothing. And I've been very fortunate in working with young people. We have a program for young people from kindergarten through university about making the world a better place, choosing projects to make things better for people, for animals, for the environment. And so everywhere I go, all of these 136 countries where Roots and Shoots exists, there are young people with shining eyes wanting to tell Dr. Jane what they've been doing to make this a better world. We've got 150,000 groups around the world of our young people. But when you look at the billions of human beings on the planet, there's a way lot further to go. And the percentage of people who don't do anything is much higher than the percentage of people who actually are out there taking action. And we have to fight corruption. We have to fight the tremendous economic power of the big multinationals who actually own the governments, who own very often the media. So it's a huge fight, but you have to remember, David beat Goliath. Well, the perspective for the future is that people begin to understand that what they do each day does make a difference. And that if we start thinking about the consequences of the little choices we make, what do we eat? Where did it come from? Did it result in animal suffering? Was it sweat labor from children in a far-off country? Could we have got it nearer so it was less expensive in using petrol? All of these little choices we make by themselves are nothing. But when we multiply them by 1 million and then 1 billion and then a couple of billion, you start to see the kind of change that we must have. The biggest difference between us and chimpanzees and other animals is this explosive development of our intellect. And we can do amazing things, like we had people walking on the moon. And I believe that that's because we invented a way of communicating with words so that we can talk about the past, plan the future, and have a discussion. So how is it possible that the most intellectual being that's ever walked on the planet is destroying its only home? The biggest problem, really, has been lack of funds. Raising funds is really difficult. And we need some funds to make our programs work. So it's a constant battle to get the funding necessary to do what we know will make the world a better place. So we're doing pretty well with very little money. We could do even better if we had more. And then, of course, you know, trying to get through to the politicians and the big business is another very tough, it's pretty tough, different in different countries. I feel a kind of desperation, I feel a kind of shame of my species, but at the same time that's counterbalanced by the people I meet who truly are inspirational. And I think the secret is that there's been a disconnect between the clever brain and the human heart, love and compassion. And I don't think we can achieve our true human potential until we work with head and heart in harmony. That's the message. That's what Roots and Shoots is aiming for. That's what I talk about all the time. And how do we get this message through to the politicians, to the big corporations? Well, one, it's by telling stories and getting into the heart. Two, we have to persuade enough of the general public to not buy products that are made in a unethical way, and to support politicians who make decisions to, like, say you have a politician who understands that when you buy a gallon of gas, of petrol, you're actually paying much, much less than the total cost if you look at the environment and so forth. But if they put the price up, then everybody says, no, 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 no. So we have to have the ordinary people prepared to tighten their belts and support the political decision. At the moment, we just point fingers at the politicians and say how pathetic they are. But when they try not to be pathetic, everybody turns against them. So it's us. It comes back to the general public. The most important thing I would say to people, because everybody's different, everybody can do different things at a different level, but the simple way is to think about the consequences of the choices you make each day. And they can be very major choices, you know, made by big business that's making a choice that will affect millions of people, or it can just be, what am I going to buy? Where does it come from? But also, do I need it? Do I need this thing I'm about to buy? Because there's so much waste, and our Western society is so incredibly unsustainable. But just thinking about the consequences means that people change.